Cool, cool. James-Paul Luna, Entranced. Welcome to RockEyez, man.
Thank you. Thanks again for being flexible on rescheduling.
Okay, no problem. Muerte y Metal. Tell me a little bit about the album. I mean, you're bringing in fans from heavy metal to hard rock to even melodic metal with this album. Why do you feel like all these genres are like focusing on you guys?
Um, well, how do I feel like, what was the question? How do I feel like the genres are focusing on us?
Yeah,
Or
like all these other different, like usually one band sticks to one kind of genre, but you guys are reaching out to all different kind of music fans all over the world now.
well, I guess we didn't really have that intention. We're just making hard rock and metal that we like. And
Right.
so we're into the old school and a variety of different styles. There's a little bit of power metal, but we also love like UFO, Thin Lizzy, Deep Purple, as well as like, Blind Guardian or Rata Blanca or like more power metal stuff. So I think overall it's kind of all distilled. And when we made this record, we did want it to have a bit more of like the new wave of British heavy metal kind of sound to it as well, with a bit of Priest and Maiden. Also bands like Tigers of Pantang or Holocaust or Tokyo Blade, like a lot of those like old school
Right.
new wave of British heavy metal bands as well.
Cool, cool. Now this is your first full length release. You had one EP before this, and I think one single. Um, you're on High Roller Records. How'd you get signed to that label?
So we were reaching out to labels. Actually, they were one of the first ones we reached out to, and they said no at first. And then it turns out after negotiating with others that they said they had an opening if for some release dates coming up, and if we wanted to try working with them, give us another shot. So yeah, we jumped on it because we really like their kind of type of bands and releases that they have are very much in line with our sound. It's the
Right.
old school traditional metal sound, and we also like that they're based in Europe, which we think is a bigger market for this kind of genre than it is in the States currently.
Right, right. Now, like you first was in Jet Fuel, a band, and you moved on to White Wizard and then Holy Grail and stuff like that. How much of a difference is this new band compared to the other ones?
Oh, 1 second. I'm getting a delivery here.
Cool.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Um, yeah, so I think the difference is between the bands is it's I mean to me it's all kind of in the same vein, but ultimately this is probably more distilled in the old school than the others, and more even in the rock. It's probably closest to like White Wizard or Jet Fuel, but
Right,
this is a bit more. I don't know. I think it's just more dialed in, and
right,
this is the first project where I'm doing stuff bilingual, like in English and Spanish, and it has a lot more of like a Latino influence, Latino, Spanish, Hispanic, because we have you know me and the guitar player Mexican American, and then our bass players from Argentina, um, our drummers from DC, but he's pretty fluent in Spanish, so we just have a lot of like
right.
different influences.
Cool, cool, cool. My particular favorites on the album is Lady Lightning and Entranced Pulse. They're my two favorite tracks. I really enjoyed on the album. I mean, there's others, but they were my standout tracks I liked. So hopefully that was good for you. You know.
Yeah, thank you. Those were like Pulse was one of the last ones I worked on. I think just finding my groove with it, and once it clicked that it was kind of maybe more kind of 80s throwback, kind of Aussie vibe to
Right.
it, then uh once I approached it that way, it felt like it all kind of came together.
Cool, cool. Was there any tracks on the album that were challenging vocally for you?
Um, Let me think. Well, the last song was a bit of a challenge. See You on the Other Side,
Right.
but I think the reason why that was a challenge is because the lyrics are about like loss and grief,
Right.
and there was just a lot of emotion in that. So getting that across um emotionally was kind of a challenge versus like technically. And it is the way I was singing that, I really wanted to do it in like a really intense voice. So we actually lowered the key of the guitar tunings to get that sweet spot in my vocal range where it's like almost like this kind of if you're familiar with like but it's like it's right at the edge of my chest voice where it's like almost a full scream of a belt, but it's still
Right.
like got that lower end to it. So yeah.
Cool. 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 Now, when you were younger, how did you know you had vocal ability? Did you take lessons, or how that come about?
Yeah, so growing up, I went to 12 years of Catholic school. That's probably what got me into heavy metal.
Right.
But in the course of that, my parents put me in choir, and so I was singing since like third grade. And then in high school, I was really into like playing sports, but I blew out a knee or something happened with my knees where I couldn't really do the sports I wanted, and so I went to like musical theater route and did some musicals and sang there. And then I always had bands, but once I was in this band, actually it was the beginning of Jet Fuel. I was playing bass for the band to start, and then we couldn't find it. We kept auditioning guys off classifieds ads like Craigslist and just like ads in the local paper for like that was when you used to do that before
Yeah.
the internet, you know. Um,
Yeah.
um, and looking for a singer, and we would just get like the weirdest guys and like nobody that really fit the bill. And so I said I could probably do it, and they liked what I did, and so I got a buddy to play bass, and that was kind of what started me. And that was like in the early 2000s, so like 20 years ago.
Did When you were younger, did you collect anything?
Um, yeah, like around my dad was a big Beatles and
Uh-huh.
collector, Beatles and James Bond. That's why he named me James Paul, because of James Bond and Paul McCartney.
Oh,
But so he kind of turned me on to like going to these different record stores, and he'd always bring me along. And so I started collecting CDs, and then I got hip to records, like in the early 2000s as well, and was friends with guys that like had big record collections and were record traders, and so we go to record shows and stuff in the SoCal area. And that's what really got me into like collecting records and discovering new bands, and eventually got me into collecting like really expensive records, which are like the British and like the rare 80s and obscure 70s and 80s metal stuff.
right. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, same thing with my son. His name is Tyler Payton. I named it after Steve Tyler and Peyton Manning. So like
Oh, amazing.
yeah, so his name's Tyler Payton, so that's pretty cool. Do you remember the first concert you attended?
I do actually. It's funny you mentioned that. So I was 8 years old, and my dad was he was a flight attendant and worked for the airline. So he
Uh-huh.
flew me to Japan to see Eric Clapton and George Harrison at the Tokyo Dome. And it was, I don't know how many thousands of people, at least 30 or 40,000 people, I think.
Right.
And I was just so amazed. And so this past Father's Day, I found a poster from that show and had it framed and gave it to my dad for Father's Day. So that's why it's very vivid in my memory right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. That's a real collector item too. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, what's your feeling about like vinyl coming back?
I've heard people say this, but I don't think it ever went away.
Right.
And I think it won't, it's only continuing to grow. And I think especially with like Gen Zs and younger, like just having something tactile that you can hold, and
Right.
the way it sounds, like hearing an analog recording played on an analog device or medium, it just the way it hits the ears and the nervous system is just so much different to me than a digital format. There's just
Right.
something a little bit smoother and it's like more calming. Like I don't know what it is, but it feels like it hits you different.
Right. Right.
And
What?
there's science might say different, but I'm into the vinyl and the analog. Yeah.
So what's the chances of Muerte Metal coming out on vinyl?
It already is on vinyl. We
Is
have
it cool?
three different colors. Yeah.
What do you have? What colors?
We have a I think what they call the Galaxy, which is like a blend of like yellow and it I think it's like orange yellow, and then we have
Right.
a actually we have two other colors. We have a neon yellow, an orange, and then a black. So four variations. But I think we sold out of the Galaxy splatter one.
Cool. 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 What kind of music do you listen to now?
Um, you know, right now for summer, I've kind of been listening to a lot of strangely like grandpa music, like stuff my grandparents used to listen to at the beach, like Mike Laure and just like kind of cumbias. But for me, in terms of hard rock, I it's really hard for me to get past like Deep Purple and Thin Lizzy
Right.
and UFO. Like those, I feel like an old man kind of stuck in his ways in that regard.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah,
Great bands. Great bands, you know?
yeah.
So what was the last concert you attended?
The last one I went to was it was Night Shop, and it's one of my buddy's bands over here at it's kind of an obscure band, like underground, like indie rock.
Right.
Just last weekend here, um, in LA at like a underground space.
Cool. 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 Can you tell me anything about any other merchandise the band has?
Yeah, we have Muerte y Metal is available on vinyl, CD, and cassette. And
Uh-huh.
then we also have t-shirts that go along with the album. And we have yeah, a variety of different merch on our Bandcamp. Like long sleeves, which is kind of too hot for summer right now, but we're looking to release a summer shirt for our
Right.
upcoming shows. And we have an album release show coming up too that we're gonna try and have some new merch for.
Cool. So far in music, what was the biggest impact in your life?
Uh, I think the biggest impact musically was when projects I was doing started to get label attention, like with White Wizard and then with Holy Grail, and then start to tour like internationally. That's when things really clicked. Like, oh wow, like this is actually a real thing. Like people actually like this enough to like fly me out to Europe or Japan or Australia to perform. So I think that just opened up my world to and doing like really big tours with Holy Grail, like on with big acts, you know,
Right. Yeah.
that just opened up my mind. It's like, wow, this could be an actual career and not just like a fantasy or like a hobby.
Cool. Cool. What's your father's impact on you? Is he happy that you went into music?
Yeah, I think both my parents are pretty happy. I think just any parents, and rightfully so, are always concerned when you say you want to pursue a career in music because
Right.
there's no guarantees, you know.
Right.
I think there's no guarantees with anything in life, but just with music as well, it's like, okay, well, don't quit school or quit your day job or whatever. And but of course, I did both those things.
Wow.
uh,
Cool. Tell me about shows coming up.
yeah, so we got a couple shows. Can't really talk about these other ones, but we got some cool stuff coming up. in January, but we have an album release show, a weekend of shows in August here in Southern California. We're going to do out in the Ventura County area a show, and then in LA we're doing a show as well with a band from New York called Shadowlands, and then our buddies Dirty Tricks here from LA, and then also from LA is Angel Fury, and so that's going to be a really fun kind of old school metal night.
Cool, cool. Any chance you coming to the East Coast?
We're working on it. I think just kind of connecting with new bands, and now that the album is out too, people are finding out about us. We did hit New York. Played Brooklyn on our first tour in 2022, so hopefully we can go back. Probably not this fall, but it'll be hopefully in the spring.
Cool, cool. What band would you like to go out on with a headline tour with?
You mean supporting a band?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of our favorites is Rata Blanca, of course. It's like Argentine power metal. Yeah. But I would love to play with some of our buddies too, like Night Demon, Armored Saint, or Merciful Fate. Stuff like that would be just amazing, and because they're still active. So yeah.
Cool, cool. Would you love to do foreign dates?
Oh, foreign, like overseas?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what country would you like to hit?
I think the UK and Germany, just because that's kind of it seems like that's where a lot of people are really liking our music out there. Right. And Germany is like kind of considered like the mecca for heavy metal. And right. Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. Is there anything special when you go on tour you eat?
That's a good question. I typically, since I'm like a strict vegetarian vegan, I'll almost always try and find a Vietnamese soup, like a pho, before I go on. So either that or ramen, like some kind of veggie Asian soup is usually what I get. Because it's like, even on a hot day, just to kind of help keep the vocal cords like nice and warm and kind of sweat a bit, get some heat and like loosen up the muscles of the throat and voice.
Cool, cool. What's your wishes come true for this new album?
Wait, what was that again?
What would you like to accomplish with this new album moving forward?
I think with this new album, I'd love to be able to play some European festivals and tour Europe. Which it looks like there's the beginnings of what might be that, but that's kind of our goal, is to get to Europe and do like a proper like US tour where we can hit like the East Coast as well in the Midwest.
Cool, cool, cool. Muerte y Metal, congratulations. Entranced, James-Paul. Congratulations on the album. Would you like to say anything to the fans out there?
Just thanks for the support, and feel free to hit us up on all the social media. We answer it ourselves. We don't have like a team or hire anyone out. So you're speaking directly to the musicians, and yeah, thanks for all the support, and thank you, Brian.
No problem. Thanks a lot for the chat, man.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.